Imagine living your life after 50 and feeling energized and excited about your future. Welcome to the Women in the Middle podcast, the podcast for women who are ready to figure out what they want and create the life they deserve. Here's your host and Master Certified Life Coach, Susie Rosenstein.
Hey there, today's episode is all about solo travel in midlife. Let's go. Welcome back to the podcast Women in the Middle. I'm your host, Susie Rosenstein, your Master Certified Coach and Midlife Mentor, and I am so glad to be here with you again for this week's episode, which is about being a solo traveler and everything that entails. Now, I have to also say my voice is a little scratchy right now. I apologize. Apparently, it sounds better in a lower register, so this episode might sound a little sexy, who knows? I can't even tell you how many times amazing women in the middle have shared that they would love to travel, but they don't have anyone to travel with. Or they would just love to go where they want to go, but they don't feel comfortable traveling alone. My friend, have I got an interview for you? My guest today has a lot to share, and you are going to love it. Also, I have had some exciting news that I wanted to share. FeedSpot has listed the Women in the Middle podcast as number 1 on the 20 Best Life Coach Podcasts Canada Edition 2025. I'm honored to have the podcast be recognized like this, and it's especially notable because it happened as I was celebrating my 8-year podcast-versary. So check it all out and all of the great podcasts. You can find the link in my show notes on my website. Okay, now let's dive in. My guest today is Janice Waugh. Driven by a passion for travel and a deep understanding of the needs of those who journey alone, Janice Waugh is the founder, publisher, and a key contributor to Solo Traveler, the leading resource for solo travelers worldwide. Inspired by her own experiences traveling solo, Janice created Solo Traveler to offer practical advice, inspiration, and community to those who set out on their own. Janice has built Solo Traveler into a trusted community and vibrant resource, helping hundreds of thousands of people embrace the freedom, growth, and joy that solo travel offers. Solo Traveler offers the only list of tours and cruises for solo travelers with no or low single supplement. There are typically over 100 trips advertised. Tracy's list is a short list of carefully curated tours and cruises offering great deals and inspiration. It is delivered every month by Solo Traveler's meticulous, luxury-loving, deal-seeking editor. If you've been thinking about travel, you are going to love this interview. And don't worry, when I did the interview, my voice didn't sound like this. So please enjoy. Hi, Janice. Thanks so much for joining us today on the Women in the Middle podcast.
Thank you, Susie. I'm really pleased to be here.
I was so excited. So we met very briefly in a coaching group. And as soon as I saw what you did and heard your questions and heard you talking about what it was, I'm like, okay, Janice doesn't know this yet, but she's coming on the podcast because solo travel is such a big deal for the midlife gals.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. It's yes, absolutely. Our readership is very, it's not exclusively midlife women, but that's probably the second largest demographic.
It makes so much sense, right? Midlife women start to get bored, want more adventure, want a little something to change, want something novel, and a lot of times don't have anybody to travel with. I mean, that's definitely one of the main reasons I started to have retreats, not just because it would be fun, but because I heard from so many women that they just don't want to travel alone and they don't have anybody to travel with.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's not just that that they want to travel. It's that first part that you talked about. It's that life has got a little bit humdrum. Life needs to be, needs something to inject in it. And the whole experience of traveling solo can be transformative, can change things, can change your perspective on yourself and the world. So yeah, it's not just a travel thing. It's a life thing.
Oh, so good. Okay, we're going to go into all of that. Absolutely. But I always have a few questions about how you got here. So tell us a little bit about your journey, pun intended, that got you here. How did you get here doing what you're doing now?
Oh my goodness. there's so many pieces to the puzzle. And it goes back in a sense to when I was about 10 and my mother told me about cycling in the eastern townships of Quebec from hostel to hostel.
So she was reflecting when she did it as a kid, or she was
That's right.
dreaming about it?
When she did it as a teenager. And to me, that sounded romantic, exciting, like romantic in the sense of a story, right? And so that's, I did on my first trip when I was 15, and it was a cycling trip in the UK, hostel to hostel, right? It was an organized tour. And then, I traveled throughout my life, right? Family, friends, things like that. And longest trip was 1 year with my late husband and kids. And when we came back, his illness became apparent. He passed away in 2006, the very tail end of 2006. So basically, 2 years later, I found myself kind of falling into another round of grief. Grief
Oh,
is so
wow.
cyclical. And it was February, it was Saturday, weekends were the hardest. And it was, really gray. And I thought, not again. I just do not want to go there again. And for whatever reason, I thought, I guess I'm traveling solo. Where did that come from? I don't know.
Wow.
But I was a freelance writer at the time, and I picked up my computer and I Googled solo travel. And what came up was kind of spammy, kind of hookup-y. And I thought, no, maybe I'll give this its own voice, like my voice, right? And I started like the
That's
next day.
kind of gutsy, Janice. That's kind of gutsy.
Well, it is and it isn't, because as a freelance writer, I was writing for clients, right? This started with, I can write in my own voice. It doesn't matter, someone will find it interesting. Doesn't matter how many, that kind of thing. But over the years, of course, it has developed into a pretty substantial site with lots of different resources on it. So it may sound gutsy if you're looking at the product now, but at the beginning, it was just a passion. I'm going to just try, right?
Wow. And what were you doing professionally up until then?
Um, well, I'd had a business with my late husband, a conference and trade show business, which we sold at the very tail end of the 90s. And that's why we could do this year of travel.
Oh,
And then when I came back and he wasn't well, my brother actually said to me, you cannot just take care of him. This is not healthy for you. So he says, you're a writer. And he had a client for me, and that just, grew into a freelance writing practice. So then, really just had to stitch a few things together. I had the entrepreneurial side of me. I had the writing skills. I just had to learn the internet, right? In 2007 and what blogging was, or 2009. Yeah. So really that's how it all came together.
wow. I'm so sorry about your loss, and it just must have been really, really hard. I love how you had the wherewithal to know that you needed to protect yourself, take care of yourself at that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. It's grieving is is no fun. It's a really hard journey. It's a very difficult journey. And you do. I mean, I went to a grief group and I did various things to survive that. But really the path out of grief was this project. It was writing in my own voice with my own purpose, and it was traveling solo. And one of the first things I discovered when I was traveling solo is that so my late husband was a real extrovert, right? He was he brought the world in. And what I discovered was that I had developed that skill. And so that while I was traveling solo, because beside him, I was kind of not in the background, but certainly not in the foreground, right? And without him, I discovered that I was a much different person than I thought I was.
Wow.
I had that strength that I had developed. I'm an introvert. I developed extrovert skills that were
Hmm.
not noticeable beside him.
Right. That
Yeah,
makes sense. And what a surprise.
yeah, I know. It was great.
What a surprise. At times you must have been looking at yourself going, who am I?
Yeah, yeah. No, it's really, really interesting. And of course, a lot of people know me through the site and through various podcasts I've done and things and they go, but you're an extrovert. I said, no, I'm not. But
Mhm.
I can turn it on when I need to.
That's so interesting. Now, you kind of said like it was matter of fact that you had all these little strands and it made sense. But for you to be able to put the strands together, that's a very creative, reflective
Mm.
practice to be able to actually see what's actually possible. Like that really, you have to look at yourself very differently to see the overlap of the skills and how it can create just really new possibilities for you.
Yeah, I guess so.
It is. I'm telling you, I
Hadn't
talk to a
really
lot of
thought about
women.
that.
I talk to a lot of women, and I'm fascinated on how people, uh, I don't know, push through
Mm.
fear, uncertainty, confusion about what it is that they want to get clarity about what makes sense for the next best step.
Right,
And that's really what you did. And that's such a
right.
pivotal moment because so many people get stuck even there because of the way we've been running our lives for 30 years, that whatever decision we make, it's going to set the course for another 30 years, right? And now at our age, we don't have to think about it like that. We can take the next best step and see how it goes, and then we can pivot again. But a
Yeah.
lot of times we get stuck because we're looking for certainty like we always did. But, with a death like you experienced, I also had deaths in my life. Like you don't have to get that memo to realize that life's not certain, but that memo makes it very clear, you
Yeah.
know?
It's very interesting what you're saying because when I reflect back, I was in a kind of a mastermind group as a freelance writer, and there were various other freelancers. And everyone, like from the outside, it seemed like I had it made. Like, this is a great job, totally flexible, do what I want when I want. Yes, I just got to make the clients happy. It's great. But I kept on saying, no, I'm standing on a bridge and I can't see the other side,
Mm,
right? And I was on that bridge for quite a while. And I knew that there was another side, right? But I couldn't see it. And that was driving me nuts because that was me looking for the certainty,
hmm
right? Looking for the clarity. And I guess this is very interesting conversation because I haven't really picked this apart before. But I
Ooh,
guess sitting on I guess sitting on that couch, right? And having that moment, that's what, well, I know that's when the other side of the bridge became clear, right? So yeah, it's we can get bogged down in the what is it? What is it? What is it? And I think that it's that listening because I was just sitting.
yeah, things got quiet. But
Yeah.
it's not just what is it, what is it? It's also that whatever it is better than where I am now. And
Mm.
so that takes you right out of the present moment and it kind of steals joy. Because if we could appreciate that there's joy in this transition phase, that it might even be as joyful as figuring out what it is and getting there in air quotes, joy in figuring out the new skills, meeting the new people, setting the new direction, having the time to think and reflect. What if that was just as good as figuring it all out in quotes? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And because it's an adventure. It's an adventure in learning, it's an adventure in connecting. So one of the things, so Twitter was relatively new in 2009. So I was on Twitter fairly early. And through those connections, I contacted and had Skype meetings with five other bloggers. And four of them was kind of like, like they were, they weren't, they weren't, there was nothing in the end. But one of them was just like, we were blowing up the internet with ideas and the excitement, and it was so great. And so that's a piece that came out of that uncertainty that was so wonderful. And he's in Amsterdam. He and I have done many projects together over the years and
How
became very good
fun.
friends. But that's I guess, willing to step into that space of transition and trust that space of transition because I have been there before, right? Allowed me to trust it again. And also,
Yeah.
I wasn't relying on it financially. I had my writing practice. So I let my writing practice go as the blog became more profitable. So it wasn't
Mm,
like I was stepping off a bridge for financial,
right.
financial situation. So
That's a beautiful thing. That is a big question that a lot of people have about making a change is there are many ways to make a pivot or a change. One way is cold turkey, but there are many other ways that give you the ability to morph into it as you continue your assessment and crunch the numbers and try different things. So good.
yeah, yeah. That dovetailing, which is that's how it felt to me, that dovetailing
Hmm.
of the two stages of my life um, provided a lot of comfort, right? A lot of safety while I played in the new zone. And then as I played and played and played, and it started developing into something, and I started understanding a business model for it and things of that nature, then, I could let go of that previous one.
Wow. So, did you consider yourself a blogger in that phase? Was that your main professional identity?
In the transition phase, I was a writer that had a blog.
Mm.
And then I became a blogger that could write, I guess, if you
Ah,
look at it that way. Because
did it feel more like it had a business component to it that you were leading?
yes, absolutely. Because of my background as an entrepreneur, because I come from a family of entrepreneurs, like
Ooh,
it's
that's good.
crazy that the entrepreneurs in my family. Um, it was natural for me to start looking for, first off, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to travel and I want to write about travel and traveling alone. That's what I want to do. So how can this also support me and support my travels? So then the next step is, so what are the problems that people have around traveling alone? So I did this little survey, and like this was a couple of months in. I had very few people, but I discovered something I'd never knew anything about. It was called the single supplement for tours, right? Because I'd always traveled independently. And then I discovered the tour side of things, of people traveling solo but on tours, and that there was a supplement of 100% and more.
I know.
Yeah,
It's terrible.
that's right. And so there's the pain point. So now that I know the pain of my readers, how can I turn that into a model that is beneficial for them? Because it always has to work for the readers first, right? And then also financially beneficial. And that's what we did. That's what we did is we built a
Mm,
business that,
brilliant.
yeah, that's
Brilliant. So tell us more about the solo traveler in midlife. Like, what is a typical midlife gal look like who is contemplating solo travel, and what comes up for them that either helps them or gets in their way?
um, the typical person, the typical woman that is looking at solo travel has certain anxiety about probably three things. Um, and interestingly, safety is not the primary. It no longer is. The first concern is being lonely and being left with themselves and what that's going to be. Second concern is navigating. Are they going to be able to figure it out? And the third concern is eating alone.
I understand that.
Yeah, yeah. So it seems, like a almost a trivial thing, but it is something. It is a thing, right?
I thought
And
you were going to say for sure just general fear of safety.
yeah,
And I thought you were also going to say health. Like if something happens to me and I'm by myself, there's nobody to help me, there's nobody to look after me.
no, that does not come up as one of the top
Hmm.
concerns. And it is a concern for women like maybe over 70.
Mm-hmm.
That does become a concern. And fortunately, most travel insurance packages include sending someone to your bedside should you have to be hospitalized or something of that nature. And that person gets their travel insurance and things like. So these are things to look for in the details. But women in their 50s, no, that's not something that comes up. And safety is less and less
So
a
why is
factor.
that? Because that does surprise me.
It's kind of interesting. I think that because there's more knowledge around safety, there's more understanding that there are a lot of people out there traveling alone. So it's not that weird. And weird was a word that was used when people found our site before. Is it weird to travel solo? Well, it no longer is. the growth and the trend towards solo travel has been consistently growing year over year for at least the last 10, 12 years.
Now, why do you think people thought it was weird? Was it stigma of not having a partner?
Yeah. And not having it
Oh,
wasn't necessarily about having a partner, but do you not have any friends to go with?
oh,
What's wrong with you? Right?
mm,
That kind of thing. But yeah, so it's that kind of stigma. But now it's been repositioned in the mind of most people that, oh, aren't you, adventurous?
no, badass is what comes to mind.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And traveling solo as a woman of a certain age, right? Um, is like I still go to hostels on occasion, right? Not all the time, but I definitely still do hostels. And one of the things is that, yes, the majority of people in hostels are in their 20s. And then you have a couple of families, and then you have maybe one or two seniors, right? Including yourself. But the conversations that happen with the people in their 20s are so interesting because they look at me and they go, my parents aren't like you. What is this? Right? It's a different model for them. It's a
Wow.
different model of aging for them, or a different model of maturity for them. And I find myself the subject of great curiosity sometimes.
I bet you do.
Yeah, yeah.
So what, as you're speaking, I'm thinking about myself. Like, where do I fit in on the types of things that you're talking about? I have no trouble going on a group by myself,
Mhm.
but I have not, other than going to visit somebody and navigating just to get there, I have not done a solo trip ever. And one of the reasons, I guess fear might be it, but the overarching reason is decision fatigue. I love the
Mhm.
idea of being in a group and not having to make decisions.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that.
And certainly that is a primary reason for choosing group travel over independent travel. Um, I would counter that with you don't have to make that many decisions, right? You don't have to make that many decisions beforehand. Many people will plan extensively. I don't do that.
I don't do that either.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it means that there's not that many decisions. And then when a decision does, am I going to go left or right? It's only up to me. It doesn't matter, right? And so for me, it's not decision fatigue. It's actually liberating.
Interesting. Because
Yeah.
when I finally went on a sailboat trip, like we have like an RCI version of a sailboat package, and we've done that for years. And the first time I was shocked at how relaxed I was because I didn't have to make any decisions. Like even it seemed like even fewer decisions on a boat. It was really just do I need to put sunscreen on again? Am I going snorkeling now or after lunch? Like
Right.
that's really it. Oh, I should wash my hair out because it has salt water in it. Like the decisions were so I was traveling with a tiny bag. There weren't clothes options. I really didn't have to do anything big. And I thought, especially when the kids came with us on a trip, that was so easy for them too. We weren't making decisions. And the only thing I had to worry about was scuba diving. Them, not me. I
Right.
worried about that. But that's really interesting that you say it like that. And I guess too, with apps right now, navigation maps, even that is a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah. And so thing about it going on a package tour is that absolutely you don't have to think about things. And there are times when that is absolutely perfect for what you need at that stage of, moment in life. It's also perfect for going to a destination that's a bit of a challenge,
True.
right? Going to China, for example, I took a tour. But going to Japan, I did not, right? So it depends upon, the whimsy of, or the just what it is you need at the time. Um, but going independently, there is that, there is a strengthening that happens that doesn't happen when it's all being done for you.
Right.
And in that process of navigating and negotiating, especially if it's another language, all of these things, there is a discovery of new strength, new confidence, and that you carry with you. I mean,
Forever. Yeah. It's like a transformation. You see yourself in a way you've never seen yourself before.
yeah.
The other thing I was thinking about as you're talking about this is the potential for a trip or a travel experience to bridge a phase of your life, a difficult phase of your life, a new beginning, something challenging. What have you seen about how people use trips to move them forward in a phase of their life?
Oh, yeah, I've certainly seen many things. I've seen people move themselves forward, turning 40, a woman turning 40. I met a woman turning 40 in India, and she decided to venture out on a solo trip through India and actually through many countries. And she decided to start in India, which is not what I would recommend, but that's what she did. And that's where I met her. And she was moving from a corporate job and she was starting a small farm,
Wow.
right? So big, big change. And so she took this trip as she prepared mentally for all the changes that were going to happen.
Hmm.
I've certainly spoken to people around grief and the choices that they make of where they go. The ocean and beach tend to be a primary one, not necessarily an all-inclusive, but just somewhere where they can see the horizon, right? And the horizon becomes very significant in that situation. But
Hmm.
certainly using solo travel to kind of collect yourself, and whether that's on a tour or independently, but on a tour, you are engaged and you're learning and you're actually learning the culture, but you don't have to navigate it yourself, but you are learning that process. And then you have your evenings and you can journal and you can process and you can see how that integrates into your home life
Hmm.
and what the transition that you're going through. So, one of the things I like to say, and it's whether you're on a tour, whether you're independent, when you go to travel solo, you can live your life as if no one's looking,
Mm.
right? Because when you are at home, people have expectations of you. They have expectations of how you're going to dress, what you're going to choose to do in the morning, all of these minute details of life, of how you're going to behave. And you go out by yourself independently, you go on a tour, and no one has those expectations. You're new. And you can be who you want to be. You can
Mm.
follow your own rhythms and interests. And this is a very good experience for women in midlife to actually get to explore what they want to explore and not to have to think about the needs of either a friend or a partner or anyone else.
Yeah, and it's not so much, this is a great example of it's not just about where you're going. It doesn't matter where you're going. It's kind of like the backdrop for the personal transformation. You know, I'm
Absolutely.
thinking back to when my father died, I was 12, and my mom took us to Hawaii. And I remember her saying I needed to be in a place where people didn't look at me and think, "Oh, you poor thing," because she was a young widow.
Right.
And I just remember that so well. I'm like, wow, I kind of get it. You know,
Yeah.
when I heard somebody recently say that they wanted to do something exciting to mark the turning the page on a new chapter after a rough time.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
again, it doesn't really matter where it is, but it's the backdrop for the transformation.
absolutely. I,
Mm.
you know, I don't think I've ever met a destination I didn't like.
I love that.
you know, because there's always something of interest, right? If you watch, if you observe how the culture functions, how people move in it, and that could be Toronto versus Sudbury, or it could be Toronto versus Bangkok. Doesn't matter. It's all interesting, right? There are natural differences within cultures because of geography, landscape, what soil, what can be grown there. All these things, if you look carefully, are producing something quite original.
Yeah, it's so good. So, what's your best advice for women in the middle to be more open? First of all, if they are open to traveling, alone? How did they get started? And then the next question, and I'll write it down because I'll probably forget after we get into the first question. But the next question is, what about for people like me who say, I don't know about that. I think I'll just stick with groups. So first, what would you say to the woman who wants to do this and is ready and doesn't know how to begin?
Right. So what I would suggest is that you take a long weekend. You start with a long weekend. To me, seems to be the perfect amount of time because say you're going to Kingston. I don't know where your audience is, whether it's mostly
Mostly in the States and Canada. So
okay,
Kingston, Ontario is about 3 hours from Toronto.
right. So you're not going far. You're not going into a different culture, right? So navigating it is not going to be complicated, right? So you've got that settled down. But you'll get there, you'll do a bit of research, you'll know what you want to do. And you'll get there and you'll start off to do something, and then you look back and go, what am I doing here? Why am I alone? Right? What was I thinking? Right? And then, so that's probably midday of your first day. And then by the second day, you've met someone at a coffee shop and you've had a short conversation, right? And then, by the third day when you're actually leaving, you have found your own rhythm and you're moving through this new place with ease because you understand it now. You've gone over the same route a number of times to get back to your hotel or hostel. And it becomes natural. So that's why I say 3 days. It seems to be 3 days will get you to that point of comfort.
Oh, that's good. And when you're saying that, I'm thinking about one of the things I like to do, whether I'm alone or not. Sometimes I'm alone on little trips when I hive off of my family because I need a little break. And I want to do something that I know they don't want to do. It's going to a bead store or a needlepoint store in a town that I'm not familiar with. And if I'm anywhere on either coast, I will absolutely go whale watching. I will figure out a way to do my favorite thing in the world, even if I have to stay another day. That's not with my family. That's when I'm like at a conference or something like
Yeah.
that. And I just find that gives me comfort. It's something I would want to do wherever I am. I love going to bead stores in different places. Sometimes they have, artists, local people who make local beads, and they just have different suppliers, and it's just super fun. And I like to tell stories about where I get the beads. What was I thinking? Where was I? So I love thinking about that when I'm traveling too. Now, what about the woman who says, I don't know, that's not for me?
Yeah, so doing the independent, I really can't give you numbers in terms of how many women travel independently versus on a tour. But going on a tour or a river cruise, because river cruises are not that large, not like
Mm,
ocean cruises.
right.
Those are both really good options for people. And the thing is that you are achieving much of what you achieve traveling independently by going on a tour. You are going into a new group, right? You get to share what you want about your background and what you don't want. As in your
True.
mother's case, you don't have to be the grieving widow,
Right.
right? You don't have to show the wounds that you're out to heal, right? You can be who you want to be. And on a tour, you can also have that, like you were talking about, that comfort of it's being taken care of for me. My first trip after my husband passed, about 3 months later, I went to the British Virgin Islands with my sister and her husband and our kids. And my brother-in-law took my passport. That was the best thing in the world. He took care of my passport and he, brought me through security, and he took, like, I was like a 12-year-old. He was taking care of me so well. And I'll tell you, that's wonderful. And that's what a tour can do for you as well. And
Hmm.
that's really important. So you can get that sense of adventure. You can get that. You can be who you are, what you're interested in. You can be a curmudgeon if you want to be a curmudgeon because you really don't want to talk to people, or you can be as outgoing as you want because that's, you're already at home with people who are more outgoing than you. Like you can be who you want to be. So the tour and the river cruise, they both function in a very similar manner to going independently. You get that richness of a solo experience. There are differences, but you get the essentials of a solo experience by joining a tour or joining a river cruise.
That's a great tip. And then the other thing is that you can
travel with women over 50 and you can travel with women only.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And a number of our advertisers. So we have the only list of tours and cruises, primarily river cruises, on the net that we know of that are designed for solo travelers.
Mm.
And our advertisers, they cannot promote a trip that has more than a 20% supplement, and most of them have no supplement. So
Really?
yeah, so this is this is real value for our readers, and that's the business model that I mentioned earlier, is that, we stay afloat and we can feed ourselves off of Solo Traveler because we have these advertisers, right? And so finding those trips, and many of those companies, maybe about a quarter of the companies are women only, right? So there's a great opportunity. And then there's usually over 100 trips. So people going through we learned from our readers that people going through all those trips was a job. And so last fall we launched Tracy's List. So Tracy's List turns that upside down. So Tracy is our editor and my friend, and she is as big picture as I am. She is detailed. Okay. She reads fine print and she researches, etc. And so what she does is once a month is she sends out a list of trips. It's a short list that she thinks are exceptional value and opportunities for solo travelers. They may be destinations that she doesn't normally see, or specifically things that have a different opportunity for adventure. And she covers the globe, right? They're not just all
Wow.
Europe or whatever. This is a very fundamental piece to what we do for solo travelers, because the tour and the cruise are really important. They're a really important part of travel for people for solo travelers. And not only important for the trips unto themselves, but for the learning and the confidence building that happens, so that then they might want to do something independently and then do something else on a tour, and they can then start shaking it up.
That's a great point. And I'm thinking too that I guess sometimes you can't find exactly what you want to do.
Sure.
And so that would be a reason for solo travel. If you just really can't find anything that comes close or anything that has a flexible day in a group format,
Yes.
because you could go on a group and stay later if you wanted the solo portion. I guess that might be another flex option.
Oh, absolutely. And if you're going to, like, if it's your first trip, so and say you're going to Italy, so take a week or 10-day tour of Italy, and now you're knowledgeable about how Italy functions. Yeah, right? So stay an extra 3 or 4 days, right? And just dig in and do what you want to do. Or you maybe go back to that museum and go back to that pottery, experience, or whatever it is, and redo it. So yeah, the tours, especially if you're on a long, like sometimes people are traveling for a month or 2 months, whatever, take a break. Let someone else do the driving for a while, right? And make all those decisions and find the restaurants and things of that nature. So tours have a very important place within that context of what solo travel is.
I see that. And I guess you could even go on a tour with a friend, and technically it would be solo. You don't have to share a room, and you
No,
can
no,
dive off.
that's right. That's right. Yeah. And many people come to solo travel because they've traveled with a friend and don't want to do it again.
Yes, I can see that.
So
You know,
that happens as well.
for
But yes,
years I was a regular snorer, and I didn't want to share with anybody because I didn't want to be woken up to tell me to turn over or whatever, and I didn't want to bother anybody. And now that
mhm.
I have a CPAP, that problem is solved. But still, often it is nice to be alone. Sometimes you just want to sleep and just have some quiet time.
Yeah. And I think that that's the important thing about having your own room. There are occasions when, like, some companies, you can't get your own room. So that's fine. And if that's fine for you, go ahead, right? But most companies now will allow you to have your own room. And as I say, we've got this limit in terms of the supplement is concerned. But having your own room allows you to say, I'm going for the early breakfast or the late breakfast, right? Or, as you say, I'm going back to my room to read. You can get away and be by yourself. And this is an important thing. Yeah.
Wow. So with all your travel, what are some of your favorite places to go that you would probably want to go back again?
Um, the UK I would go to forever. I just find the culture to be and the landscape and etc. to be, just gorgeous, and the people are they're very fun. Um, but the problem is going back when there's so much else in the world.
I know, I know.
And so that's the what I struggle with. But there are certainly places I go back to. I'd go back to India in a flash. Chile, and South America, wonderful. I've got a dream trip of mine happening this fall. I'm going up the fjords of Norway, and I've been wanting to do that one for a very long time.
Now,
So
what is it about that that just makes your heart sing? And you haven't even been there yet.
I haven't even been there. It's the landscape. It's you know what? Going back to horizon, it's not exactly horizons when you're going into the fjords, but it's the grandeur of nature and being able to breathe that in.
Mm,
That really does it for me. And it's 12 days up and back. And so all the different people I'll meet, right? But I mean, I can meet different people anywhere. In Rochester, New York, I can go and meet people, right? Doesn't matter.
yeah.
But it's the grandeur of nature.
I'm right with you on that. So why did the trip come up now?
You know why it came up? Because I was sitting beside Tracy as she was doing research for Tracy's list about 2 months ago. She goes, "Look at this."
It's on sale?
It was on sale. I looked at it and was like, booked.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So what's your writing practice when you're on vacation?
I don't typically write when I'm on vacation. I take a lot of photos and I take, little notes and things like this so that I've got the details. But I like to experience it and absorb and process, and then I start writing.
Mm,
Yeah, it's just I don't want to, and it's the same thing with taking pictures of food and things of this nature. So, I take things to document uh, for the purpose of writing later. But I don't want my trip to be about reflecting on it at the time, about, reporting. I think travel has more depth than that. So yeah, I don't have much of a writing practice on the road.
got it. But do you do a hobby or what do you like to do in your downtime while you're traveling? I find this fascinating when I'm with people and some people keep their morning routines and don't budge. Like it's the same exact thing they do. If it's yoga in the morning, they do yoga in the morning. And some people like to read more and have more downtime than usual. I like to do, I love Zentangle. So I love the mindful doodling. So it's very portable. And I love to do that sitting on a balcony on a cruise ship, for example. I love to do that. I find it very inspiring. So what do you like to do when you're traveling?
I maintain my morning meditation practice, but I really I enjoy reading more, and it really is about the people I meet because everyone's fascinating. So I tend to put myself in positions where I'll meet people. And I was in Cuba at one time, and I was reading this book. It was by a Canadian author called Happiness, and I can't grab the name of the author right now. But it was very funny, and I was laughing, right? And that brought people in looking at my book. What are you reading that you're laughing out loud, right? It's very old. It's very old. But so for me, yes, I need quiet time, absolutely, and that's when I read. But mostly, it's the people that I meet, the stories that people tell me, and it's just that thing that that you'll find when you meet a stranger, and you'll really reveal your life in a way that you don't reveal to a friend. And then that stranger goes away, and then so the stories that people tell me are quite extraordinary. Yeah.
I want to do, I agree. When I'm out and about, I get like you. I would love to travel with you, but I know you prefer solo. Um, I love talking to people too, and I'm always on the lookout for an amazing podcast guest. I can hear it when they start telling a story within seconds. I'm like, she's got an interesting thing she's going to be saying. And I'm going to want to share that story. It's so good. Now you mentioned earlier on this eating alone is challenging for many people. I was thinking that, now that we have these smartphones, it's so easy to be distracted and less concerned about you sitting there by yourself. Are people finding it easier, or does it still feel difficult to lots of people?
I think that people are finding it easier. The standard used to be take a book, right? But I think that there are more exciting ways to deal with the situation. For one thing, I'm trying not to be on my phone. Like I was on the subway yesterday, and like everyone was on their phone. And I'm thinking, when do we have a moment to be in our own thoughts rather than on the phone? And so I think there's merit of trying to put the phone away, the digital detox concept, right? But also there are more interesting things to do to eat than just eating alone. So, for example, in Moncton, New Brunswick, I took a lobster tour. Well, you go to the lobster boat, they're not going to put you alone at a table. They want to fill that boat, right? And so I'm sitting there with 3 other people and getting to know them and having a conversation. So you're not really alone, and yet you're alone, right? So there are opportunities like that, that come up. And then there's communal tables, right? Which is another good one. Or using meetup.com to see in your destination, if there is a wine group because you love wine, or is there a food group or whatever, right? There are language. So I was in Bordeaux, and what did they call it? I can't remember the name of it, but it was a meetup around speaking English and French. And so the English speakers were practicing their French, and the French speakers were, so, and we'd go out for a meal. So like there are plenty of opportunities that are social as well, so that you can be eating collectively and not have that, what am I going to do for a meal? And do I feel awkward being alone?
Oh, that's great. Is this the kind of thing that you would expect to find in your blog, these kinds of tips?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We write primarily about how to travel alone. We write about the destinations that we go to, but most of what's on the site is what do you do at night alone? How night safety, how to eat alone, solo travel over 50, like all of that it's all the hows, right?
So helpful. As we're talking, my bird is chirping away. Do you hear her?
No.
Oh, thank goodness. Because I'm not on my normal mic. And I didn't know if you can hear. I keep putting us on mute just in case. Okay, so why are you so passionate about this topic? As I'm sitting here, we're on Zoom in this interview, and I'm just looking at the way you're lighting up, your big giant smile, and you have such excitement and like a contagious excitement. You've got me convinced I'm ready to do solo travel, quite frankly. So why are you so passionate about this?
I'm passionate because I know what it's done for me, and I know what it's done for other people. I receive emails from people saying things like, I've been reading you for 3 years and I'm going on my first trip, right? That's a big deal.
Such a big deal.
Yeah, yeah. And, women in the middle, right? Women in the middle, they've got their adult kids that are sticking around longer. They've got their parents. And the idea of being able to go and take time for yourself, truly yourself, is pretty special and pretty important.
Yeah.
So this is why I'm passionate about it, for sure.
So good. So how can people get in touch with you and hear more about what you're offering?
Yeah, so the website is simply solotravelerworld.com. And that's where everything is. We do have a Facebook group called the Solo Travel Society, designed to give people a sense of community. And there's a lot that goes on there in terms of if you have a question, Tracy, who moderates it, will put that question to the group. And very often you'll get tons of responses. I remember once there was a woman, she was in London for her first trip, and she was like, I'm panicking. So she put it on, put it to our Facebook group, the Solo Travel Society, and the number of comments and assurances and support. And, if you need to call me, go for it. It's fantastic. So it really does have a lovely sense of community. But yeah, so that's solotravelerworld.com. And just look for the trips information, trips tab, and that's where you'll find those tours. And Tracy's List has a tab, and that's where you'll find about Tracy's List.
And what can you sign up for on your site?
So the newsletter is free. And when you sign up for the newsletter, we'll send you what trips are on our site twice a month. So you get the full list. And then if you want, you can sign up for Tracy's List. It's $30 a year or $3 a month.
What a bargain.
What a bargain. I'll tell you, it'll save you time and money, as it did for me when I booked my Norway tour. And she sends you information once a month on extraordinary opportunities that she finds, whether they're on our site by our current advertisers or elsewhere, because she certainly goes beyond. There's no commercial control of that at all.
Wow, I'm totally signing up. It sounds amazing. I wanted to point out, I, of course, will have all of these links that you just mentioned in the show notes. And it's Solo Traveler with one L. I know in Canada and the US, sometimes it's with two L's.
It goes both ways. We go both ways.
Amazing. Okay. www.solotravelerworld.com and the other ones as well. And on Facebook, Solo Travel Society. So this is amazing. And thank you for clarifying that both double L and single L will get you where you need to go.
That's right.
Amazing. Is there anything else, Janice, that I forgot to ask you or that you can't wait to share?
Oh my goodness. No, I think this has been a really good, far-reaching conversation. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. Janice, thank you. It was so much fun to have you on. I really did a lot of my own reflecting when you were sharing your experience. And I have to say, one thing I've shared in the Women in the Middle podcast a lot over the years is insight about my own growth and development. And I have noticed that I make a lot of decisions that are fear-based. And that's what was happening when I noticed why I didn't want to do solo travel. Because if you looked at, me on paper, you would think, oh yeah, Susie wouldn't be afraid of that. Well, Susie's afraid of that. So I'm going to challenge myself. I love the idea of trying to get away on a 3-day weekend as a little trial run, as a little test, an experiment, and a push. That really resonated with me. So thank you so much for your expertise, your adventurous personality, and for your ability to pull together such an amazing site and workable business model that supports you in so many ways. Really, really fun to meet you, Janice. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, that's it for this episode. Isn't it so fun to hear about how to make solo travel happen in your life? There are so many ways to take baby steps and get where you want to go. I can't wait to hear where you go next, now that you're probably feeling pretty excited about getting out of Dodge, so to speak. Your new question is not if you're going somewhere interesting, but instead, it's where are you going first? Now we're talking. I'm super excited for you, so make sure to keep in touch and tell me all about it. Maybe you'll even come on the podcast and share with everyone listening. That gives me a great idea. If you're finally ready to travel like this and want to share the different phases of your experience, please reach out to me at info@susierosenstein.com. It would be fun for us to follow your story of getting out of your comfort zone and getting out there to have fun solo travel. Let's do this. I think this is a great idea. Remember, I help you stop living like time doesn't matter, because it does. So if you're ready to step on the gas and make changes that are important to you, like solo travel and like all the other things, the Women in the Middle Academy might be for you. So think about it. I have this group, and it could be helpful to you. Now, as you know, my focus as your midlife coach is to help you waste less valuable time and get on with the good stuff. This is what regret-proofing your life is all about. Remember, being the queen of your brain domain is the best way to be, and midlife transformation coaching is the fastest way to rediscover joy and purpose after 50. My friend, it's time to stop waiting for the right moment and start creating the excitement, joy, and fulfillment that you crave. So, if you'd like to see if working together is a good fit for you, either in the Women in the Middle Academy or privately, please reach out to www.talktosusie.com. For show notes and links, go to www.susierosenstein.com and click on the podcast tab and look for episode 419. You'll also see a link there for my other show, The Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, which is all about the reality of running your business when you're a midlife gal. It's also on iTunes, Spotify, and all the places. Let's do this, ladies. It's time for you to put yourself first, one thought at a time. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next week.